Hello and welcome back to Geek and Biscuits, and today with roses. There's my forever Valentine Dan. How you doing, my friend?
Alright, chuckles.
I am now. So, Dan, today we are going to be doing a film from 2012.
Yeah.
So recent-ish for us, very
Yes,
recent maybe for us. Action, crime, sci-fi. And without further ado, Karl Urban as Judge Dredd in 2012's Dredd.
3D.
Yeah. Oh yes, 3D.
Yeah,
it was
let's
tagged
not
as
forget the
Dredd
3D.
Yeah. And it's subsequently dropped, but it is Dredd 3D definitely at the height of really the 3D kind of mania that disappeared suddenly after they sold a shitload of TVs that also give you glasses. So before we move forward with our retrospective review of Dredd, I'd like to ask you guys, if you're listening, watching, if you just like, subscribe to us. That's like saying be my Valentine, or equally thinking of it as get away from me, you bunch of weirdos. But in all seriousness, just give us a like, give us a share, or subscribe. That'd be absolutely perfect way of supporting us, helping us to get out there further, to fight YouTube's algorithm demons, and get ourselves, showcase what we can talk about and how much bollocks we can actually speak.
Definitely, mate.
So, Dredd. Right. Obviously, he's a iconic and well-known comic book character. Obviously, there was the 1994 Sylvester Stallone film. But how did you come across this Dredd 3D?
I think it's something I did want to go and see at the cinema, but it just never came around. I can't remember why. Probably lack of someone to go with, I think, or someone who was interested. But I followed it quite closely. I think growing up. So I found a 2000 AD annual when I was young. I think it might have been like a Harvest Fair sale or something, where I just used to pick up annuals and stuff like that. And there was always these really sort of great stuff like I think Road Trooper, and all these other characters, ABC Warriors and stuff like that. So getting to read some Dredd stuff, was some Judge Death stuff, like Judge Death in it and stuff like that. It was always really cool, and it was different. It was a lot more grown up comic books to what I was used to.
Yeah.
Obviously, seeing the Stallone, I own the law. With Armando Sante, and sort of growing up on that.
Shout out to Scott Wilson being in that film as well, from our recent Exorcist 3 for the Vault.
Yeah, it was, Poor! But it was, so that was a big part of the 90s. It was, a big sort of flop that people used to refer to, even though I kind of quite enjoy it, and I shouldn't do.
Yeah.
But
Rob Snyder's first kind of, I know he was Demolition Man, but you really did, you really actually started to believe that he was just Stallone's personal, not bodyguard, but almost pisser-offer.
That's it, yeah. But it was, and then obviously this came along, and it was like so much interest in it. Alex Garland was writing it. He'd done Sunshine, which was a phenomenal film for me. It's one of my favourites, and
yeah, I liked it when it was you're talking about the Oasis film, yeah, the sunshine. No, all seriousness, so that was
yeah,
when I heard that, I was excited as well.
yeah,
It was a great movie.
and then so the trailers came out. Seeing it was gritty. It wasn't uber sort of sci-fi. It wasn't like it was.
Yeah,
It's sort of low end, gritty, nasty sci-fi. I thought this is what Judge Dredd should be. This is
yeah,
and then getting the cast, get Karl Urban, who at the time he'd done Rings and Star Trek, and I'd throw that man in at anything. I'd only really seen him in Rings and Star Trek, and the great thing about Star Trek was he was so good at Bones.
yeah.
I was just like, this guy can do pretty much anything. And when
Ghost Ship.
I was a ghost ship. But then the icing on the cake was that he wasn't going to take his helmet off.
Yeah.
As daft as that sounds to a lot of people, it's just so important to Dredd's character.
Yeah, I think people do, like you said, people have an attachment to that character, and it means something. And when you've got an actor that's in the 90s as big as Stallone, that's never going to stay true, is it?
No,
he's always going to want to take that helmet off. Yeah,
it's pretty.
I mean,
straight away.
I mean, we see something in the Mandalorian, haven't we? Where like people thought he would never take his mask off, but he was getting annoyed and wanted to do it and stuff. And fair play, but I think that says a lot about Karl Urban as an actor as well, and because he's very, very warms to the character, doesn't he? He loves that character, and it's something he wanted to pursue. So I think he really understands what makes Dredd tick.
Yes, yeah. About yourself?
I went with my friend Ben, which I'll say hello, thank you. He actually requested this review. Yep. So yeah, we went along cinema back in 2012. Didn't think the 3D was serviceable. There's two films I've seen in my life that I think that benefited from 3D, that you could tell they were purposely shot for 3D, and every angle and every certain like object in frame was intended to be there and intended to enhance your experience, and that was Avatar.
Yeah,
absolutely. But the best and my favorite is Tron Legacy.
Oh mate,
yeah, that in 3D was perfect.
Yeah.
And especially how they
utilised it.
3D.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This was not off-putting, and it wasn't really gimmicky like when they often like upgrade the film to like the Deathly Hallows, where that was just tacked onto it like artificially. Yeah. That to me is a waste of time. It detracts from it. But this was, I think, because of the slow-mo drug, I think it did stand out. And it was a few nice little moments, but I just went into it not expecting a lot, although big Urban fan, and the character can take or leave, not because the character is bad or anything, but just because my faith in like an adaptation kind of thing, and I think it's a guilty pleasure, the '94 film, definitely. But like you said, it's low budget. You've kind of got this almost, which felt a bit like The Raid.
Yes.
And a bit like almost Die Hard and The Raid mixed together, and I was thinking, oh God, I just hope I'm not sat feeling like I'm watching a kind of homage or wannabe kind of film. And I came out of it blown away. I'll be honest, I was blown away. It's one of my favourite action movies to watch that's been made in the last 10 years. It's so good.
Seeing where it began as well, because Alex Holland talks about his original script for it, which I think he started writing in 2008, and it included Judge Death. Its Mega City One was this great sprawling metropolis, and it had more of a sort of sci-fi feel to it. But then, he said by his own admission, it made you rely on knowing the history of the character and the comic books. And if you're starting, especially if you're starting again, if you're rebooting a franchise, you haven't got that luxury. So, forcing him being sort of like forcing his own hand to scale everything back really worked for its benefit. To, like you said, very much like The Raid, to take it back to this sort of high tower come and make it like Garland said, to make it almost like a just an ordinary day
on the job for him.
On the job day for Dredd, it just worked incredibly well, and sorry, it just for a small budget as well, they got so much life out of it.
Yeah, no, it's to me, it's one of those films that it grips you from the beginning. It's I love a slow burn. I love me and you love a lot of different types of films, a lot of genres. Yeah. But it is one of those films that it's that intrigue straight away. Like, it just really does suck you into that world. And I think you hit the nail on the head to me, where it's you don't feel like being presented like, here you go, this is the welcoming part, this is the getting to know our characters. It is just like you're a fly on the wall following this guy around, and I think that works perfectly to bring you into that film and make you care. So I mean, the plot, it is essentially, like you guys will know just listening to us, is essentially like a one location movie. So it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's Peach Trees is the complex. It's and it's there's been a couple of killings, hasn't there? Yes. And or quite brutal as well, what we see. Yeah. So Dredd, who's like judge, jury, executioner, and gets to decide on the spot what happens to these guys, criminals, these guys. They're called out, and he takes like a rookie with him to deal with it. And what happens is the main villain, Mama, which is played by Lena Heady or Heady. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. She's wonderful.
Heady, I think.
Yeah, I think it is Heady. Yeah, Cersei from the Game of Thrones, which again, she's brilliant in this as well. She's working with a lot of organisation, and they managed to lock the complex down. So that traps Dredd and the rookie in the building, and basically she puts a bounty on his head. So, and it leads to kind of a war between the rookie Dredd and the rest of Peach Trees.
That's it. Yeah, it's quite interesting because the complex itself, it's sort of like a shopping mall
at the bottom,
basement, as well. But then living quarters as they go, and it has that. They said it go back to elements of Raid, but also because of the different layers, and obviously Marmor's at the top. It's almost got like a Game of Death feel.
It does,
to it. Yeah, and it's an urban sort of Dredd Bruce Lee making his way up the levels, kicking the shit out of everyone as he goes further and further up.
Yeah, it'd make a fantastic 16-bit video game adaptation back in the day. Yeah, just the set of, like you said, the complex and the different levels, each one getting up there, it'd been fantastic. But it is, I know we spoke about it being in one location and it enhances the film greatly, but I think that the care that they've taken with the set, the care that they've taken with for instance, the slow-mo drug, we've had bullet time, back in 99. This is only it's only slow motion, which has been, it's not new, it's not a gimmick or anything. But I think because we get this gritty kind of, like you said, rundown feel of the future, and then we get this drug, which is slow-mo, which we see so it makes the people feel that they're experiencing time in slow motion. Apparently that's the hook of the drug. But when it's happening, we see like the maybe their breath that they exhale, maybe if they're like when Lena Headey's in the bath and she's doing it, every bit, like the vapor, the smoke, the water, everything's kind of got this rainbowy shine to it.
Yeah.
And I think what makes it work is because it's that contrast between the gritty, rough kind of film and then this beautiful, like intoxicating, enticing drug that they've got, and the good guys, the judges are the ones that are gritty. Even like Dredd, he's got that gritty kind of dirt voice.
Yeah.
And yet the bad elements, the drug that's enticing, that's beautiful to look at, that's serene almost when we see the slow motion, is the thing that's bad for you.
Yeah.
So I think it's all it nicely works against each other, and again it's that it continues to work off that hook of that one location and everything. It's just nice. It's subconsciously nice. It plays around with expectations quite a little bit, And I think that to me like sits us there, and you just it kind of allows you to just like Die Hard. You're just following them around, and you've got everything. Everything it works films like that because everything else is kind of. When I say perfect, I mean it's like note perfect. Like doing a film like that, it has to be every little thing has to be just right, because when you're in one location, you can't be wowed by jump cut to cut to cut. Like Rise of Skywalker, for instance, in my opinion, has quite a few problems, but also it's one of those where they probably would add a lot to cover. So what they do is something happens and they cut, and then they go to the next scene and they cut, and it feels frenetic. And sometimes filmmakers do that not to hide problems or stuff like that, but sometimes it's to go, we might not have the greatest plot, but what we'll do is we'll keep the action flowing, or we'll get from A to B to C, and what we'll do is we'll just take you along this ride and like sweep you off your feet. Whereas these things had to be in place and everything has to be right when you have to pull off this kind of film. So for me, that's absolutely perfect for that kind of film. I'm not talking about perfection as in Vanilla Sky. I'm joking. But for this kind of film, it either works or it doesn't, I think.
Yeah.
So you've touched on Karl Urban, and he is brilliant. He's note perfect as Dredd, and like you said, he doesn't. It's like he is Dredd. He doesn't. You're not thinking that's Karl Urban. He, like you said, he doesn't take his helmet off.
Yeah.
He is fully in the role.
I think it works as well because he and quite rightly, he didn't want to do any chroma key. He didn't want to do any green screen for the bike riding. He insisted on riding the bikes himself. And I think so having that hand in, he was so like behind the scenes as well. So happy to promote. He did a whole thing at London Comic Con at the end of one of the days where he was there not to promote Dredd initially. It was just to have signed autographs and whatever. But he bought the trailer, and I think it was before it had been on general release, and they showed it in the auditorium. And he was just and they were happy to talk about it to all the fans, take questions on it, and say what he could. So he was always pumping it up. He was always something. I think that really lends itself to how much he believes in himself. So when that comes through in his performance, that you get this nice guy who's just such a lovely bloke with fans, but can really pull off this absolute no nonsense motherfucker who's you don't want to be on the wrong side of. And it helps the look as well. The helmet's done incredibly well. The outfit as well. Yeah, you could look at not colour wise, but with the giant golden eagle that Stallone wears is more comic book accurate in this gritty world that they presented to us. The combat suit that they're wearing is a much more low key sort of tight fitting sort of. It's just body armor.
It is, absolutely.
It looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, nice.
And it all helps with that menace. It helps. You can imagine. Well, I could imagine putting that on and feeling fucking awesome. And
bulletproof.
Literally, yeah. So it really does help add to his performance, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think we've seen Karl Urban recently in The Boys, and like you mentioned in Thor Ragnarok, and he's a chameleon. He's like you said playing Bones in Star Trek. It's I have no doubt that whatever he does in the future is going to be equally as perfect if he gives his all to it like he does.
Yeah.
So Lena Heady plays Marmar. She's the main villain, the supplier of slow-mo, the queen bitch of the complex. Quite a good role as well, actually, because
she's good.
She's understated. She's tattooed, facial scars, but she's very understated. And I think, I'm not comparing this. Well, I'm comparing it, but I'm not saying it's of equal value. But you know what I really Die Hard is like the ultimate action movie. Like,
yeah.
But you know, Rickman's performance is really, he's not shouting and screaming and stuff. He's just getting on with it like the leader of a organization would do. Like, there's no point in like pissing off all your henchmen so they turn against you or anything. And I think she kind of takes a little leaf out of his book where she's menacing, but it's like to because of a reputation. She doesn't have to stamp her feet or anything. She's just like, do this, do that, and do you know what I mean? She's not over the top. And
that's it. Without having a massive amount of exposition, you can still completely understand why these people are jumping every time she says jump, and well, you've seen
we get a nice little montage, don't we, of because it works, because I think like because they're kind of like called out, the judges are, they obviously get like a status report of who they're looking at, and he's obviously training the rookie on the job, and it gives a backstory about her biting the guy's cock off and how she was a bit abused before, and then she rose to like prominence within these group, and the absolutely she rules through fear, but because her character's like, it's just done from a logical point of view where people are scared of her because of her reputation. So if she's got a real reputation, then her character doesn't need to walk around going, do you know who I am? She's already got those people working for her.
Yeah, I mean, she said, Lena Heady said she thinks of Mama as an old great white shark who's just waiting for someone bigger and stronger to show up and kill her. That she's already ready for it and she can't wait for it to happen.
Yeah.
That's just...
She's damaged.
Yeah, that's it. It's just like their whole attitude is just, fuck it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cast's not... The primary cast is not a huge cast, because we have Olivia Thirlby, who plays the rookie, which is Rookie and Judge Anderson.
Yeah.
And she's like an empath, psychic kind of mutant and again, I think she gives quite a good performance, actually.
I think it's... I'm right with it. I'm wrong, but I think it is a first... I think she was in Juno.
Yes.
But other than Juno...
Yes, I don't think she's done a lot. I think that when I was doing some research a while ago, I think she's done the L Word, which is a big show for the LGBT community, and she's a big part of that. But yeah, I think that it is one of her main like supporting roles, and I think that she's good, because maybe any kind of... I mean, I don't think she does, but maybe any part where she may not come across, and stand out as much as Urban, which is really difficult to do, is I think works because she is the rookie, and so when you're putting a new actor on the spot, you kind of got a new judge that's been evaluated. So I think that's kind of a nice... again, it won't be done on purpose, but I think it's nice sometimes when you get kind of the new up-and-coming like guy or gal to a film, and it's kind of one of their first big breakout roles, or a big kind of... they've got a big role in a film, a big supporting role. I think sometimes it's I think it's just very clever of the filmmakers to be able to put them in this kind of role, because they're not leading, obviously, but they've got they've kind of got the... if there was any weak parts of their acting or performance, then it kind of blends into maybe what the character's about anyway. So I think it's very clever, and that's not to dismiss her, because I think she actually does a really good job.
Well, that's it as well. She's she's the... for all intents and purposes, she's the audience character, but she's not, because she has these extra abilities.
Yes.
So you are sort of trying your best to be empathetic towards her, because she's got an hard job, not just as Olivia Thirlby going up against Karl Urban, but as Anderson having to go with Dredd.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's sort of like life imitating art in a roundabout way, and it's she's great. I mean, it's the fact as well. I've really enjoyed that she wasn't just cannon fodder, because you tend to get rookies or new characters, and it could have easily been, they could have easily killed her off by the end of it.
Absolutely.
Or before the end, she could have been the threat. The judge has got to make the call, that sort of thing, or whatever. She could have just been,
Well, she
you
could have
get
been
to like
romantic
it.
lead or girl power, like where you think where she gets a scene or two where she completely dominates, and she doesn't. She's doing a very realistic kind of approach to it.
Yeah, they do avoid quite a few tropes with her, which is
Absolutely.
nice. And again, it's a testament to Garland's script that he doesn't fall into these traps, like you said, of making a superwoman. Because they stick with she's a rookie, she makes mistakes, she makes a big mistake. That's part of her arc, is that she gets disarmed,
Yeah.
which is an automatic failure for assessment.
Yeah.
But we know towards the end, the Dredd passes her anyway because of how well she performed during that situation.
Yeah.
She, not a rookie, normally wouldn't have been put in such a desperate situation, and especially hold their own. You can imagine quite a few others would have shit themselves or died in the first 10 minutes. But I think they make such a good point of making her a strong character without, like I said, without making her too superhuman.
Absolutely. Well, the director, I mean, that's probably the main players of the cast. I would say. I mean, we do have the is it Domhnall Gleeson from he's got a nice little supporting role as the kind of not very willing but still goes along with Mama, and he's like he's had his eyes replaced by like his eyes act as the security cameras, don't they, for the complex and the security. So obviously Marmar uses him for that, and it's a nice little role actually. It's quite freaky. It's great makeup and a lovely idea. Yeah, absolutely. But we've got the director, and he's not really done that much. It's Pete Travis. He did Vantage Point, and I believe he started doing some episodes of Project Blue Book, which is obviously the kind of new kind of X-Filesy kind of series for the History Channel.
Yeah, he did. He started off on doing The Bill.
Yeah.
For ITV. Yeah, Cold Feet.
But it doesn't show.
No, he's got a professional hand in it. He knows his craft. He's
absolutely. And I mean, obviously, like, we can't say how much of, because I would guess somebody like Urban will have quite a bit of say in the film, especially as a passion project. But it just surprised me somebody that's made a film this entertaining, and this was just so well made, like you said, like on every aspect to look at, the feel of the film, just hasn't done more really. This
thing with Dredd is that it should have done better.
Absolutely,
it should have done a lot better, and I'm not entirely sure why it didn't, because it didn't. I think it just made over its, but it wasn't a flop, but it wasn't a massive success either.
No.
And I think they said if it just made something like 5 more million, then they would have had a sequel greenlit. It wouldn't have taken much more, but it just didn't quite do the numbers. And I know they've talked about whether to take it to Netflix, and I know Urban's still keen on returning to role. He doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He wants another crack, and I think he'd be happy to do it as a series. And
it makes you wonder why someone like Netflix has not snapped this up with stuff like The Punisher, that's quite a violent series that's been given the gritty treatment. And
well, I imagine with the money Netflix throws around yearly, you get for projects, and the amount of money they throw at Adam Sandler these days, they could quite easily fund a couple of seasons of Dredd. If they want to do anything with sprawling cityscapes and anything like that, then they just take a leaf out of Mandalorian's book and do the stagecraft tech.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's working so well for a lot of productions. They're starting to utilise that in, Thor, Love and Thunder, is going to be utilising it, and I think there's a couple other films as well.
Well, we know CGI came in, and people said that once it was in and everyone was used to it, it'd be cheaper, it'd look better, but kind of actual real craft, real artistry, real talent, comes from like you said, miniatures, like these little actual creature effects, like actual, even like down to actual makeup and blood and bruises on characters. These things stood the test of time, really, and look better. So
yeah, if
why
it's
have we had this reliance on CG?
I don't know. I don't know. It's that tangible thing, isn't it? I think you go to one
Absolutely.
extreme where, you could go absolute all out Harryhausen, and
Yeah,
the sort of animated skeletons and stuff, which is more aesthetically pleasing than, not necessarily it's a better film, but it's more aesthetically pleasing than seeing, like Revenge of the Sith, which I do love,
oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
there's next to no texture on any of the furniture or the carpets or
Yeah,
it's so vacuum formed in its look
yeah.
that it's almost like everything's been 3D printed and just left.
Left.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the problem with. I always used to say that it's similar premise, but like in the video game industry, you have something like, let's take something like Sonic the Hedgehog, like the originals. Everything's 2D, but everything's got text, everything's got life. And then
yeah,
you look at like Tomb Raider, the first Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, when it came out late '90s, everyone's like, oh my god, look at this, it's amazing. But what's aged better?
yeah,
What plays the same and what looks better now? And it's
yeah,
the same.
absolutely.
It's the same thing. And I can remember people making this argument about. I think it was actually about the prequels, saying that everything's so shiny or so dull, but it's literally like everything's been like waxed times 1,000.
Yes, yeah, yeah, and that's it. And I think that, again, it's going back to the production of Dredd. Is it felt real? It felt lived
Yes.
in. And I think that it's so easy to recreate, you know, on a TV series budget, especially on TV series budget these days. It can be absolutely fucking anything.
Absolutely.
I mean, looking at, I know we're going off subject a little bit, but I think they were saying the Falcon and Winter Soldier show that's coming out soon. I'm sure each episode is in the realm of $25 million. Which
Crazy.
is incredible amounts of money. But so I'm sure Netflix, again, like I said, if they keep throwing shit at Adam Sandler, then they can afford to
Yeah,
do a Dredd series.
absolutely. And the thing with Netflix is it's on there forever. If it's their original, so they don't need to it straight away. That can, word of mouth can take that over, like the
Yeah,
Punisher and certain things like that.
yeah.
So you spoke about, you weren't sure why it was a flop or anything, but like the critical, like the critical success of it, it was kind of like good to average, really, from the critics. It's got a Metacritic score of 60, which, I mean, just over halfway, like, proud in, sporting a proud yellow badge.
Yeah.
From a lot of the reviews that I've read, they kind of, I think they are saying that this almost feels like a precursor film
Yes.
to the second film, which is the film they want. But I think they're failing to understand the point that it's supposed to be a 1 day event film. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be you're here now with it. It's supposed to be. I mean, like you said, it's, the film is the film because, and the story that we have, because of the budget.
Yeah.
But that to me feels like a trial by fire for the director and for the writer, because having that little amount of budget and having to, like you said, kind of scale everything back means that these guys passed their test. This film's a great little film, and aren't we fed up now of seeing the same formula for films like this?
Oh
So
yeah.
actually seeing a film where we start to see the character for once on the job, and we're not having to worry about every part of his past, just
Yeah.
feels like I don't need that shit. So
Which,
it's a breath of fresh air.
yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, it's such a nice. Yeah, it's a fresh. It is a breath of fresh air. I can't even talk.
It took your breath away.
It literally did. Yeah, yeah. It's just nice to get into a film that just gets on with it sometimes,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about who's done what to them and what all the motivations and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
just nice to think
Yeah.
they've got a job to do. She's in the way of that. Let's see how this
Yeah.
pans out.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's the I know I mentioned it once, but it's kind of what's successful for so many video games, and why that like a lot of actors are now lending their likeness to games, because the story kind of comes to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to sit through this is the first kind of, oh, we're just meeting each other. I always refer to it as like when me and you've got together and watched films, or if I've sat at home and it's a Christmas and I'm watching a film and I'm sat with my parents and they'll maybe go out of the room to get a drink and I'll be, do you want me to pause it? And they're like, oh, no, because everyone knows the kind of cliches and tropes you have to get through at the beginning of this cat. You know you can catch up with it straight away and know 75% of the time what they're kind of going to go through. Whereas this film is, you cannot afford to do it.
No, it's nice. It's not, you know, it's again, like you said about video games, is that, you know, it always makes me, when you say stuff like that, introductions and how they go on and on and on, it reminds me of Oblivion, which was an absolutely fantastic game. But you wake up in that prison and you're confronted with Sean, I think, was it Sean? No, Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, yeah, you're right.
And he just goes on and on and on and on and on. And he's just like, I'm just trying to get past it. All I want to do is get out of jail.
Yeah.
Yes, I know you're setting up the history, but I'm sure there'll be a book somewhere that I can find and read through the pages and find out your history. I don't, you must find Martin Septon. Oh, yeah, great, mate, cheers, but there's an hole in here I'm going to go through. Beat some lizard guy to death. I want to get out. You're in my way. So,
absolutely.
And putting that onto film and stuff like that, you get so many films that are just waiting and waiting. And some films, deservedly so, you do need that plan. But when it comes to, you're there to see a balls to the wall action film, the only thing you need to know is, Mama's a bit of a cunt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she needs to be put down, and Dredd's there to do it.
Yeah.
And seen,
Yeah. I just think that you don't need everything spelled out for you, and he's judge, jury, executioner, and the way that he gets that nice little, when he's in the shopping part of the complex and he gets to do the arrest or whatever his sentence is, and because he's got this rookie character, he's not doing it in an exposition way, because it's always on the move, but he's kind of like almost talk like she's shadowing him. It's her job, so he is talking his way through it, but it's not a glaringly obvious, like, oh yeah, well, this is what I do and we get to decide this and we are the judge, jury and executioners. He's going through his day as he would do if we'd already been explained beforehand, if we'd had the exposition dump at the beginning of who this guy was and what judges are. So it's just a nice relief, like you said, just to get in it and watch him kick the shit out of everybody. So, obviously we've both been like really positive about this film. So, I'm going to ask you about what were some of your highlights of this film? What were some of your favourite bits? Because judging by it, we've both got quite a lot of positives to say about the film.
I mean, it's good. I think, the performances are outstanding. I think Mama, it's always something interesting watching her, like you said before, because she doesn't. You're quite right. She's very Rick-like. She doesn't have to say anything or do anything to be impressive or threatening. She just is what she is. What she is, and
she's Lena Heady's got a great presence as well, hasn't she?
Yes. Oh, there's a power to her. She's it's unspoken.
Absolutely, and she does have an absolutely amazing resting bitch face.
Oh my god, does she? Yeah. But one of my all-time favourite bits is, I think, it's Caleb. One of her henchmen.
Yes, yeah.
And it's the bit where they're on the top level. I think there's all that side of that building's being shot up.
Yeah. Don't they get the minigun turret?
Yeah.
Or something? Yeah.
And Caleb's just being marched forward by Dredd, who just launches him off the balcony to his death. And she looks what's happening. Mama looks what's happening, and then she looks up, and as she looks up, Dredd's already walking back into the smoke, and he says "fuck all." He just grabs him and it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I think they've done the interrogation bit and everything. But it's just the way that he's like, Dredd's sort of like, this is one of you guys, is it? Fuck you, and And I think that just really, even though we have to get up to that. We already are aware of his character by that point, but that just really shows how much of a fuck, he doesn't give. He's still got a job to do. You can do what you want. You can destroy half at Billy to get rid of me. One of yours comes over here, they're gone, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it is a brilliant moment.
Mm-hmm. It's just a big middle finger up to her.
It is. It is. It's great because it's like you said. It's not the spectacle. It's not a trailer shot. It's totally within character for Dredd, and it's perfect. Yeah. I think one of my favourite moments from the film might be my favourite actual moment is we all know Judge Dredd's catchphrase and stuff on the law, and I think that the part where he's fighting back and he manages to wipe a few floors of henchmen out, and he manages to get hold of like the like speaker system that goes around, the tannoy system that goes around the complex. And he's got this gritty voice, obviously, and he really downplays the character, not in a terrible way, in a kind of a world weary kind of, I'm not like the world's biggest action star. I'm just Dredd. I'm just the character. I'm not the actor playing the character. And so we've got this kind of like awesome speech that he's addressing. It's something like the citizens of Peach Trees. He kind of gives the situation update, and he just goes like, "Mama's not the law. I'm the law," and that leaves it. And it's just like, you get your catchphrase, you get it in a very real way, but you also get it in a badass way of, is like you said, it's his job. He's fucking coming for your mama. You're finished.
Yeah, and it's nice because I thought they might not do it because it was such a big part of all the trailers and everything for the Stallone version, and Stallone's, we've already done it, but people, you mentioned Judge Dredd, the Stallone version, and people straight away go, "I own the law,"
Yeah, and when they go law, and then the other guy's like law, a law off,
yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's such a good moment. It's
a real way of it's, if you've got to have a catchphrase from a character, and catchphrases come from people actually having real conversations and saying something. That's how they're born. So for him to kind of, you could almost imagine it's the first time he's ever said that, and somebody going, "That was great, Dredd," that ought to be your thing. And it's like you said, you don't expect it. You're like, "Oh, is it really going to happen?" And it's so calm and cool. The camera doesn't move. It doesn't focus on him. It's just this kind of delivery of, "She's not the law, I'm the law," and it's perfect. And it's the moment I was in the cinema when my fist clenched and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" So, any problems, Dan? Anything you think maybe they could have changed, even if it's nitpicky? Anything you'd have liked to have seen then in it? Because we both really love the film. Anything different you'd have liked to have seen?
Maybe some Jurgen Prochnow.
Everything could do with more Jurgen Prochnow.
Give me access to Jenneth. No, mate. It is no perfect. It's one of those films like it is no perfect. I think maybe just the only thing, I just wish it's nothing to do with the film. I just wish it had done more so we could have seen more.
Yeah.
I just wish it had done more business so we could have had a Dredd 2 or whatever. I'm always interested in the Judge Death stuff. That was some of my favourite stuff from 2000 AD, because it's just weird. It's just weird. It's different, and how, I don't know how that would play into this gritty version of Dredd. It probably would have fit more with the Stallone stuff, because it was a bit more tongue in cheek and outlandish and stuff. But if that's the way Garland wanted to go with the story, I'd have followed it, because I was hooked straight away. So, but no issues, mate. Yourself?
No, I totally agree. I think there's nothing that you can really do. We're not talking about a sprawling movie that's set over locations or days or weeks, and we're talking about there's certain places where you can see maybe the budget was stretched or whatever. It's almost like they've sat down and gone, we've got to. I mean, they've had to scale things back and stuff. But I think they knew exactly what issues they'd face, and they knew the story they wanted to tell. They scaled it back when they knew what problems they'd have, or budget limitations. And they didn't just go, "We'll see," or "We'll film something later." It really feels like they gave a shit and went, what kind of film can we make with this budget? Right, okay. this is what we can do, and I feel they just nailed everything.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a thing changed. I thought it was, like you said, no perfect.
Definitely, pal.
Yeah, so I mean, we spoke about it, and Urban's the MVP. Absolutely, he's worth the watch, and hopefully, his success is, and he's obviously the boys kind of blew up for him, and he's been fantastic. So I do hold out hope that we will see
There's plenty of
something
time.
else.
I mean, me personally, it's like the Star Treks and stuff, and take or leave the what the class is the Kelvin timeline trilogy. We know about making a fourth, but again, he's one of those actors that I'd love to see again as as McCoy. But again, so that's for me. That's the things I hold out for is that I'll see him as McCoy again, but I'll see him as Dredd again, because it's two, and obviously more boys, because it's these three roles that he's really, encompassed. He's really sort of become known for, and I love actors who can be so different, but ultimately still be likable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In these roles, more Karl Urban.
Yeah. I agree. I think if we won't get anything else Dredd related, I just want to see Karl Urban in more things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because he just seems like that guy, doesn't he? That guy that he just can't really put a foot wrong for people.
No.
So no, definitely, mate. And I'm not actually sure where to watch it. I think it is streaming on Amazon, isn't it? I think
so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you'll probably find it on Sky. It's like we said, it's been out 8 plus years now. And I don't think 3D is essential for it at all. It does add a little bit with the slow-mo scenes and stuff. It doesn't detract as much as what it did with other films.
But I didn't see it in 3D. Also, I saw it the first time I saw it was at home, and so I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. There's certain films, like you said, I'm glad I saw Avatar in 3D. Francis says Prometheus was fairly decent in 3D.
Yeah.
And that wasn't, Ridley was in charge of that. I don't know whether it's converted or was filmed in 3D. I think it might have been filmed in 3D. But Ridley was in charge of everything, and being sort of the artist and art director that he has been, and so that you can kind of really appreciate, regardless of what you think about the film, when a film works in 3D and didn't have to be in 3D. It's a cool thing. It does elevate what could be more of a lackluster film. But I don't feel like I missed out.
No, and I'm sure that the hilarious thing is I've got the Blu-ray, bought it when it came out to show my parents. My dad actually wasn't that keen.
Yeah.
He thought it was all right. He wasn't that keen. I think he'd recently watched The Raid as well, and he was. My mum absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
She thought it was great. But I was like, I bought it and I was like, this looks fucking shit. It's Blu-ray. And then I clicked on, I was like, oh, right, okay. I was there going, I didn't want the 3D version. I was thinking, you dickhead, it is Dredd 3D. But I think when you played it on early Blu-ray plays, it didn't really look that great because of how it was filmed and stuff. But now it looks perfect.
Maybe it was because it was filmed. Was it filmed or converted?
I thought it was filmed, but I could be wrong.
Maybe the sort of worth looking at, because if it was filmed in 3D, it kind of makes you wonder, because it tried to hit that 3D sort of boom.
Oh, it was a gimmick for everything.
If it hadn't been tailored for the 3D audience, because obviously that's a markup on your production costs, maybe it would have made that $5 million they needed to get a sequel. Who knows? Well, it was just a studio exec thinking, we'll make more money because it'll be in 3D, but obviously it didn't.
Well, I remember watching Fright Night, the 2011 remake at the cinema in 3D, thinking, what the fuck? So when I heard Dredd, I was like, oh no. But I was like I said, it's when
there's no spectacle, but when there's no spectacle, when there's nothing sort of flying towards you, intents purposes, all you can do is sit there and go, that's a nice little bit of depth behind his head.
Yeah, and the slow-mo is is perfect because of everything's flashing off, and like you said, it's not in your face. It's not Paul Anderson from Event Horizon going, "Oh, we've made look at our CGI water bottle floating. Oh, it's a ghost cup."
But how would you rate it?
To me, it's a golden biscuit. It's a modern classic. It's yeah. I think it's. I keep saying perfect, right? We all know, like, just before people might, there is no such thing as perfect and perfection and stuff like that. But there's a certain point, as close as you can get. This film does everything it sets out to do. I cannot say any further than that. It's a nice little self-contained film. And it's got a bit of everything for everybody, and it's part of this, like you said, it's got this nice little rich backstory of characters and from the comics and stuff, and it even manages not to piss off anybody. It does everything right. Every step it takes is sure footing. It's like walking across that ice pond, and instead of wearing these big heavy boots, Karl Urban and the production team have all got nice little ballerina shoes on and glided like majestically across there, not leaving a crack. What about yourself, sir?
Yeah, golden biscuit, mate. Yeah. Is it? It's not just a cult classic. I think it's just a classic of modern action cinema.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's all I can say, mate. It deservedly so.
Yeah, I think it was. I think just to finish off, I think maybe like the 3D definitely didn't help. It was tired then. 2 years is a long time in cinema with a gimmick, isn't it? And I think people were bored of 3D by the time it came around. I also think people are always aware, even if they don't know that much, that there's a character called Dredd. They don't know how it sounds. I think it's brilliant, but is that Dredd? Is it to do with Judge Dredd? Dredd, such a kind of like a great title for me, but for some people, is it a bit confusing? Is it a sequel? Is it a remake? Is it a reimagining? So I think there's probably a few little things why. I think if it was released any time of the last 5 years, I think it does what it needs to do, and we've got a sequel.
Yeah, definitely.
But yes, well, thank you for joining me to talk about one of our favourite. Well, I'd say one of our favourite tonight. Talk to you about one of our favourite kind of action films of the last 5-10 years. So thank you, appreciate that. It's always great to talk about Karl Urban. So again, guys, thank you for paying attention. Thank you for watching us. If you've got a request, drop it in the comments. If you disagree with us, if you want to give Stallone some love in the comments, just let us know. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And don't forget our other channel, Vault of Horror, the Geek and Biscuits all place for all things that go bump in the night from now on. And just give us a share, give us a like. It's our food, it's our DNA, it's our COVID jab. Keep us alive. But thank you very much, guys. And Dan, as always, thank you. And I will see you next week, my bloody Valentine.
Yeah, all right, matey. Take care.
You too. Good night.
Night, mate. Bye.